Kayla over there watching, I don't know, America's Next Top Model or Victoria's Secret or something. Victoria's Secret, that's what it is. So, Thursday morning, but I only just got done doing yesterday's check-ins because one, I'm overseas, and two, it was a pretty hectic day yesterday, pretty chaotic day. So I forgot how much time you lose in transit in Asia, because in Western countries, right, you've got the whole, I guess, regulated traffic situation. Everything flows quite well. But over here, if you go anywhere outside of the hours of like 5 to 7 a.m., if you're on the road anywhere between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., you can expect what would be a 7-minute trip to turn into a 40-minute trip. So that, on top of the fact that when it is busy on the road, nobody wants to accept your ride request. So like the rideshare apps over here, they use Grab, which is kind of like Asia's version of Uber. And if you try to request a ride in peak hour, which is basically, like I said, anywhere from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m., you have a very strong chance that they're just going to cancel on you, or you're not going to get any accepted ride requests. So you could be stranded. Say you go out somewhere, I don't know, like to the shopping mall. Unless if you want to walk all the way home, which is horrible, you might be stuck there for 3 hours. And Michaela and I were stuck at the shops for a solid couple of hours yesterday, so that was unexpected. But nonetheless, it is 9:50 in the morning on Thursday. You're going to have meal number one earlier than usual. Managed to find some rice cakes yesterday, but they are stale, so beggars can't be choosers. I'm just going to have to suffice with stale rice cakes while we're here, and then enjoy the rice cakes and feel grateful for being privileged to be able to eat rice cakes when I get back to Australia. So, okay, so no using tap water here. I made that mistake in Thailand and I got quite sick. So I think it's actually the reason why I had multiple bacterial infections in Thailand was the water. So yeah, if you're a Westerner, just be aware of that, because our immune defense, our immune systems are not acclimated to cope with the level of bacteria in Asian countries. So we're a little bit precious, we're a little bit sensitive. Even me, I mean, I've got a pretty robust stomach. I can usually eat anything off the floor, but not in Asia. This is going to be a bit of a challenge making this. So mixing the powdered peanut butter. Oh, a little bit too much water. I even managed to find some dates yesterday. They're not quite on the level of medjool dates, but they'll do. And they come in these nifty portion bags. So there's like a big bag of little bags, and they're all portioned out to be 50 grams a piece, which is perfect because that's the serving size I normally use. I also found some carob powders, so if I ever want to have this meal with less caffeine, I can. And some golden flaxseed meal. So it's really starting to feel like home. I've got the honey. Even found some decaf coffee yesterday at a health food shop. So I've got the regular, good old, faithful Moccona for the mornings, and then for the evenings, the decaf coffee. Found Bon Maman strawberry jam yesterday, and a couple of microwavable rices. The oats, dandelion root tea, cinnamon, diet salt, salt-free seasoning. I'm going to stockpile these before we leave and bring them back to Australia. This is like Mrs. Dash, basically the salt-free seasonings that they have in America, which they don't have in Australia. Yeah. Might try these ones today, the quinoa, rice cakes with quinoa. Let's see how these sit. There we go. Should be, yeah, I think I'm in frame. Close enough anyway. Pretty much just like home. Bone up the teeth. Plus 1 digestive enzyme and 1 berberine. Now to find something on Netflix. Hey everyone, commentary video for you today again. And this was my second session in the Philippines, just a torso day, so chest, back and shoulders. Pretty straightforward stuff. And since I'm actually recording this about a month after the fact, I've had a bit of time to sit with this session and I suppose think about what it taught me in the moment. And this one honestly reminded me of a lesson that I've learned 100 times over. And apparently I still need to keep learning it. And that is, you have to listen to your body. What I mean by that is the gym gives you opportunities to reflect on your own judgment and the choices that you make before the set even starts. And this session was one of those days. I walked in with a plan, a pretty specific, predetermined plan or idea of how I wanted the session to go or how it was supposed to go in my mind. Because I scoped out the equipment the day before when I was doing my leg and arm session. And so I kind of pinpointed and identified what movements I wanted to do, what sequence, what order, how they would feel, that sort of thing. I had my top sets imagined, I had the weights picked out, or approximate weights I should say, all of that dialed in, all before I even touched the first machine. And the problem was my body didn't agree with any of it. Instead of listening to that, I tried to force the session to match the plan that I had in my head, and that was a mistake. So you obviously saw me only do one set of the, I don't know what you'd call it, it's not a Smith machine, it's not a free weight power rack, it's kind of a hybrid between the two, but I did one set of those and it just didn't feel good, so I moved on to this machine press, and it did feel much better. But yeah, instead of listening to my body, I just tried to force the session to match what I initially envisioned. And the warm-ups should have been the first clue, I'll say that much. Everything felt a little bit off. My pecs, my upper back, even my shoulders from the travel and the prior session the day before didn't feel 100%. The new gym, the new equipment, everything was just a little bit off, I guess you could say. And instead of acknowledging all of that, I kind of just brushed it aside and told myself, yeah, but the plan says we're doing this, so let's just do this anyway. Not the smartest move, if you ask me. And it's definitely something that I would advise against for any of my athletes. Now, if I'm being honest, I understand how beat up I actually was from the travel, now at least, but I underestimated it at the time. The different sleep schedule, the difference in humidity, the fact that this torso session came after I don't want to say a taxing leg day, but just a leg and arm day in general, and that being off the back end of a day of travel, minimal sleep, my back wasn't fully recovered from the session prior to the travel. My delts were, I guess, a little bit sore. They didn't feel 100%. Even gripping certain handles felt different because nothing in this gym is the same as my setup back home. And these should have all been check engine lights, I guess. However, I ignored most of them in favor of sticking to the number one thing, which is I wanted to basically stick to the plan. When I got into my pressing work, I could definitely feel that things were fatiguing a little bit early. And yeah, every rep felt like it was, I guess, a battle to maintain setup and composure. So I had to scratch that first movement. And I kept trying to correct it mid-set, but it just wasn't really working. But yeah, I mean, you'll see in the footage though, this training session, small adjustments, that sort of thing, trying to change my, I guess, mechanics on movements mid-set. But honestly, all of that was just me trying to salvage a plan that should have been modified from the get-go the moment I did my first warm-up, because that really did just tell me the truth, which was I didn't have it in me to do what I wanted to initially do. I wasn't listening to my body. I was trying to override it. And that's the thing about training. There's a difference between pushing yourself and forcing something that isn't there on that day. One is productive and proactive, and the other one gets you hurt. This day could have easily gone very south and in the wrong direction. I could have torn my pec again, which I've done several times in the past, especially with how far out of, I guess, the usual groove I was. But I'm lucky I didn't. It definitely served as a reminder though. And that's something that I have acquired over, I would say, the last several years of lifting, because I'm quite deep into training now. I've been training since I was 14. So closing in on 1.5 decades. A bit over 1.5 decades, I believe. Yeah. Jeez, I don't even know my own age. But yeah, I'm lucky I didn't hurt myself. After all the, I guess, the heavier stuff, I dropped into the shoulder training, and even that felt slightly more taxing than it should have. Again, not because the equipment was bad or that the session was poorly structured, but just because my body was giving me clear feedback that it was still quite fatigued. And that wasn't due to me doing too much in the prior sessions, but just me not being able to rest sufficiently throughout the last few days. And that's a pretty important distinction. Are you sore because you are under-recovered or over-trained, overreached? And more often than not, it's an under-recovery issue. It's insufficient sleep, poor stress management, poor nutrition, dehydration. It's very rarely you did too much in the training. I think a lot of people have this misconception that they've done too much, when in fact it's usually a case of you just haven't given your body the sufficient rest between sessions. So the answer isn't always to just cut back on the work you're doing in the gym, but rather get more effective rest between sessions and dial your nutrition, your hydration in more. Yeah, I probably could have walked out of the gym having accomplished more if I didn't insist on chasing the pre-planned session, to be fair. So, I mean, that was a big take home for me. And that's the importance of auto-regulation in training. And it's why I stress it so much with all of my athletes, and something that I try to practice as well, because I'm a big believer in practicing what you preach. And auto-regulation isn't guessing, it's not being soft, it's not avoiding the hard work. It's acknowledging that the plan is there to guide you, but not to trap you. That's probably the best way of putting it. Especially when you're traveling, when your sleep is inconsistent, when your environment changes constantly from day to day or week to week, when you're dealing with equipment that you've never used before. It's imperative that we are adaptive. When you're dealing with all of those variables changing, your body will tell you exactly what you're capable of on that day. However, the big question is whether you're willing to actually listen to your body. Because a lot of the time it just comes back to us lifters being so autistic in our routines and our nature, and being stubborn and not wanting to listen to our body, the kind of, I suppose, the intuition you need to be able to sustain this lifestyle long term and have longevity in it. Because sometimes you need those slightly uncomfortable sessions to remind you, to be fair. So I am grateful. I mean, in retrospect, it's not bad to have these sessions where they just absolutely tank you, because they do remind you that long-term progress isn't built on forcing numbers, but rather by doing the right work on the right day at the right intensity. But that's all I wanted to talk about, guys. I'll let you get back to the video now.
Yeah, and I had
So we are in Geomar's room.
I did a
a face-to-face check-in. So competing in a couple of days, so we're gonna have a look at him in person and yeah, just strategize the final plan. That's essentially it.
Like my shooting a porno. I'm sorry.
So we'll just go through some mandatories. So front relaxed. Good. And quarter turn. Good. Yep. Glutes on. Lean back. Touch more. Yep. Good. And we'll go front double bicep. Nice. Good. And we'll go back double bicep. Full, yeah, it's hard, yeah. That's the thing, but I mean, if you compose now, like, you're going to be fine in the morning, like, of the day, yeah. That's the thing, like...
I'm trying to remember with my gut.
Yeah.
My Logan says to keep sucking it.
Yeah, think about pulling your belly button to your spine. That's what I always think about, yeah.
Probably up to 780.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fluid, and then obviously the carbs, like, yeah, but it's crazy, like, overnight it just gets processed, and then you probably, like, wake up in the morning, everything feels tight, yeah? Yeah.
Feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
93.8 just then.
That's good.
So already down.
Yeah, already done. Yeah, that's good. And that's with, like, nearly 9 litres of water consumed, and then 3 times the amount of carbs that you normally have, so that's good.